Alex at Corumdale Farm. We are a Year 2 Oklahoma flower farm, and in today's video we're talking all about tulips in the 2024 season, which will be our Year 3 for our flower farm, which we're really excited about. In our last video we talked about how we closed in the month of August, all of the reasons why we closed, and one of them is so that we can take a vacation with our family. So we are filming on location from a wonderful place we took our family to in August, which wouldn't have been possible if we had planned to be selling all of August. I'm really thankful for our decision to close in August and we get to film in this beautiful place. And I'm actually wearing sleeves. It's so chilly here in the mountains versus Oklahoma, which is like 102 today or something, I think. But today's video is all about tulips. It's a bit crazy that in August I'm already thinking about tulips that will bloom in March, but that's just how it goes in flower farming. And last year we did almost an exactly similar video. We filmed on location, talked about everything that we were going to plant and grow. And so we're doing the same thing this year and kind of talking about what we learned growing tulips for our first time this past spring, what we learned from our customers and how that affected the decisions we made and what bulbs to order for the 2024 season. All of the bulbs that I'm about to go over, we purchased in May. So pretty much the tulips bloomed. We saw what our customers loved and didn't really care about and how quickly we sold, how well it did. And we made our decisions pretty much a couple weeks after that. And now we're getting emails about like shipments are going to start. We need to free up cooler space to pre-chill a lot of our bulbs for Oklahoma Zone 7. So it's exciting to think about tulips. But as a recap for last year was our, well, technically it's weird saying the years and stuff, but this past spring was our first year growing tulips on our flower farm. We grew estimated 2,800 tulips, sold every single stem that I could harvest and put in our flower stand, unless I broke it accidentally or it was like just too small. We had one variety that bloomed shorter than I would prefer. We did not compost any tulips. We had no unsold tulips. So because of that, we decided to about double our order for next year, which we're about to go over. So that was really exciting. And we noticed some customer buying habits. And so after I go through what we chose, I'll talk here at the end of the video of what those lessons learned were for our customers. And so you can think through maybe what you're hearing from your customers and make smart buying decisions and not, I want to grow every single kind of tulip. I'm overwhelmed with the catalog. I'm making a million choices, because that doesn't always lead to the most profitable decision making. So first up on our list, let me back up. We ordered 5,200 tulips. So that's the exact math. We have 5,200 tulips coming. First one on my list, I've got my notes here and pictures to remind me of the colors, because I find often the colors don't. Sometimes the colors give you a hint, but not always. First up is Daydream Darwin. Daydream Darwin is a beautiful bright yellow and orange two-toned tulip. Really bold, really beautiful. I think it trends more on the orange side than the yellow, but it kind of has that ombre feel to it. So we got those. Next up is Purple Pride Darwin. It's a solid purple. It's on the a bit lighter end of the purple spectrum than the darker ones. We have a really dark one coming up, I'll show you, but Purple Pride. We have Novi Sun. This is a new one to me. So I should say Purple Pride we grew last year, Daydream we did not. Novi Sun Darwin is new to us as well, and it's like your classic Easter yellow. I don't want to say Big Bird yellow because that doesn't sound very romantic, but it's like a really dark butter yellow, solid Darwin. Excited about that one. We have Pink Impression Darwin. It is pink and it is like your Barbie pink. It's like the bubblegum, bright, solid pink. We have here a Darwin mix. So the Darwin series of tulips is often the tallest stemmed tulips, and that's what I want on our farm. I want the tallest tulip stems I can get, because we sell our tulips in wrapped market bouquets from our flower stand. We don't make jar arrangements. I don't want short tulips. I don't want short tulips in a jar. I want long, elegant, give you Dutch flower market vibes of just long stems and a beautiful wrap that you get to take home and open up and arrange yourself. So I'm going with a lot of the Darwin series because those stems are really tall. I have a picture from last year of one of our Darwins. I want to say it was like an apricot impression or apricot pride Darwin, and I have my little 3-year-old holding the tulip, and it is almost as tall as him. I mean, it's like head to his knees. This stem is so long. That's exactly what I want. So lots of Darwins are being grown on our farm next year. And so because of that, I ordered a Darwin mix. And in that mix will be yellows and reds and pinks and purples, maybe some whites, but really bold colors in a lot of what the Darwin series offers. So I have a lot ordered for the Darwin mix. And then here I have amazing parrots. I talked about how you have parrots, you have Darwins. You also have parrots. Parrots are frillier. They have an ombre, often 2 or 3, sometimes even 4 colors in the tulip. They're very rare. This is the kind of tulip your customer will not be able to find at Walmart and the grocery store. It's not just going to be like a solid color. It's much more unique and interesting. It's the kind of tulip that you'll get asked about, like, oh my gosh, what is this? I've never seen this before. That's the parrots. We grew a bunch of parrots last year of all different colors, and what I chose to regrow next year is Amazing Parrot, which is a very saturated, deep colored parrot. It's not very pastel, it's very bold. But then I also got a parrot mix, because sometimes in mixes, you can't buy like the individual colors in a mix. Sometimes you only can get them if you grow the mix. And there were some in our mix last year that I just loved and I couldn't find on their own. And so I just wanted them again. So we're growing a parrot mix, which we did last year, and it did really well. A beautiful, amazing colors. And then last of our last of our parrots is apricot mix. This one is on the lighter pastel end of the spectrum than I tend to grow, but it did so well for us. The stems were beautiful. I loved the colors in the color palette. So apricot was a yes again. Now we're entering into, let me back up and explain. Tulips can be early, mid, or late blooming. And that usually comprises roughly 6 to 8 weeks, depending on your growing conditions, of bloom time for tulips. And so if you purchase a good mix of early, mid, and late, in theory, with the weather cooperating, you should have about 6 weeks of tulips blooming. And so you want a balance there, instead of, if you ordered all mid-season blooming varieties, then it's like, oh my gosh, I have 3,000 tulips blooming at once, instead of maybe like 1,000, 1,000, 1,000 sort of thing. So I have some early. I don't have a lot of earlies because I don't really want that many early tulips. I have a big chunk of mids, and then now these are all late blooming varieties. And for us in Oklahoma, with our growing conditions, late season tulips is really like the second week of April, which is funny because in a lot of the Midwest and cooler parts of the country, late season blooming tulips are like end of April, and sometimes they'll get lucky into Mother's Day. But for us, like, we're done with tulips like a month before I see all of the beautiful Midwest farms getting their tulips. So our late blooming varieties, first one is Queen of Night. I will admit, I don't love the color. I don't love really dark colors personally. I'm more of a pastel and lighter color girl. I don't love reds. I don't love dark colors. But this one, almost all growers rave about this color. It must be one of those flowers where it doesn't always translate the same way on camera as it does in person. Just its impact and its depth of color and its beauty and its uniqueness, I think, really comes through in person. And that will probably be a really great seller in our flower stand if I had to guess. So I'm going to try Queen of Night because I hear about it all the time. And it's also one of the latest blooming tulip varieties. And so it would be wonderful if like this was towards the tail end into April, bridging that gap between when my ranunculus get cranky and my tulips are done. If Queen of Night kind of shows up to fill that gap, I think that would be great. Next up is, in the late blooming category, is Dreamland. Dreamland gave me big Barbie vibes. It's a pink and white two-toned and supposed to have really long stem length, and so I just really liked that one. I thought that was unique. I hadn't seen that before. And then we have, okay, I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, Dordogne. Dordogne is a notoriously beautiful late blooming variety tulip. It has, depending on your temperatures and how it does in your weather, it can be more orangey apricot, or it can have more pinky blush in how it comes out, but it's a blended tonal, almost like a watercolor looking tulip that has huge stems and a huge bud. And I think that peachy apricot with the deeper purple of Queen of Night will really complement each other. So I'm growing Dordogne. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then last in my late blooming variety is Blue Amiable. There are not many true blue flowers in the flower world. You have like your bachelor buttons and your delphiniums, but often when you hear the word blue in a flower context, it's some variation of purple. And that's the same for this one. It's a different blue. It's a bluey purple compared to the Purple Pride I showed you earlier, the Purple Pride Darwin. I think purples and pinks and yellows are just beautiful spring colors, especially around Easter and in early April to grow. And then last on our list, and this is a big chunk, this is 2,000 bulbs. We are growing a mix, I think it's Triumph series. You have Darwin, you have Parrots, you also have doubles and fringe, and then you have Triumph series. Triumph series can have a bit shorter stems than Darwin. They're a bit cheaper than Darwin. It's a smaller bulb often. It's cheaper, but we're growing a rainbow mix from Holland Bulb Company. They're a wholesaler that you can buy as like a retail customer. You don't need a wholesale license or a business license to order from them. We're growing 2,000 of those. Now, this is a good time to talk about why we're doing this, because it kind of breaks the flower farming rules a bit. Because like I said, they are not going to be top size quality. They're not going to be, I mean, I should even look back in my archives to see if I have a picture, but there's a distinct size difference in like the Darwin bulb I ordered from a business wholesaler and what the Holland Bulb Company sold with the Triumph. But we grew them last year. We grew 1,000 of them last year. They grew beautifully. The bud size was significantly different, but they grew beautifully long stems, and our customers loved them. There was no distinguishable difference that my customers saw in an expensive large Darwin or Parrot and the Holland Triumph much cheaper bulb tulip that it produced. My customers loved them. They loved the color palette in the mix. All of the wraps sold. And so we're not just a flower farm that grows flowers that I emotionally liked in a catalog and bought all the things and hope people buy. We are a flower farm that is trying to be objectively profitable. And so we have to make these kind of decisions where, as someone who's passionate about flowers, I trend towards the just like the biggest, the most beautiful, the more rare and specialty tulip. But if my customers do not care and they loved these tulips, I'm spending 80 cents a bulb, 70 cents a bulb over here. I'm paying 20 cents a bulb over here. Well, that's a big profit difference if my customers are buying the tulips in the exact same way and there's not, what's the right word? If there's not a discriminating or discernible difference when my customer looks at a wrap of Darwins and a wrap of the Holland Triumph. If I were to put a wrap of Darwins and a wrap of the Triumph, my customers would largely be paying attention to the color palettes and what they perceive maybe as the amount of stems in each wrap, because I don't put the same amount. I will put more stems of the Triumph in a wrap than I would the Darwins because they do cost me different, and so I have to make up for that. I have to both make a $20 value bouquet, and I also have to make a bouquet that is profitable to us. So the stem count is different. And so when my customers approach the flower stand, they're looking typically at how many flowers they think they're getting and the colors that they like. They're not noticing, this is a specialty top size bulb, size 1. This is clearly a size 2 bulb of much cheaper value. I'm gonna pick this one. That's not what my customers are doing. So I wanna grow things that make us money, that make my customers happy. So we are growing a lot of the Holland Bulb mix, and I think it's gonna go wonderfully, and we're gonna make more money in tulip season than we would buying a lot more expensive specialty tulips. So that was what we saw from our customers thinking about the size of the tulips and what we were spending money on between the Darwins and Triumphs. There also was a very interesting observed customer buying habit with the parrots. Again, as a flower farmer and someone like my husband loves uniqueness and things that you really can't find anywhere else, that's definitely the parrots. The parrots are the most expensive of what we grow. Parrot, Darwin, and Triumph. Parrots are by far more expensive, and we grew a lot of them last year or in the spring, because they're so beautiful and they're so unique and so interesting. I don't think our customers really cared that much. I mean, of course, I had like a handful of customers that really appreciated them. They mentioned them to me specifically, but there was no discernible. I put out a bunch of different options in the stand. All of the parrots got chosen first, and then the smaller tulips were, you know, like the last ones to move. That was not the case at all. I think people were interested in, oh, I've never seen this before, but then they often chose what they knew best, and that is a solid color tulip with a lot of stems is what my customers were choosing. And so I'm still growing parrots this year because I enjoy them, but also there are some customers that do come that really like them, and they're unique and interesting, and it's a way to expose your customers to different things. But I significantly reduce the numbers because my customers want as many flowers as I can give them while I'm still being profitable, and they want things that they are familiar with. And for my customers, that was the solid colors. It was not the unique ones. And so if you noticed in my list too, there is not one fringe tulip and there is not one double tulip. And from my observation, I follow a lot of flower farms. I watch a lot of other YouTube channels and stuff. And I noticed that most flower farmers tend to choose doubles, especially, and a lot of unique ones, and they shy away from the solids. Now, of course, if you're selling exclusively to florists or your biggest customer is a wholesale outlet, you're going to be making different decisions here than what I'm talking about, because you need to be growing what your florists want, because that is your customer. For retail though, I was not finding that I was making the profit margin that we want that was worth it for a double tulip being so much more expensive. Do I think they look beautiful? Yes. Do I love their uniqueness? Absolutely. My customers don't really care, and so I'm just not going to grow them. And that's, I think, where you differentiate yourself from being more of a hobby grower that's passionate about flowers and putting on the business hat of what makes me money in all of the labor that I'm doing to get these flowers. So my husband and I joke that like we're kind of positioning ourselves when we make buying decisions as the steak and potatoes flower farm. We are not going to be the flower farm in Oklahoma where the quirky, unique, never seen before customer comes. We are going to be the flower farm that people who want reliable, affordable, long-lasting, easy, beautiful flowers comes from. And that's going to be the solid colors. It's going to be the Darwins. It's not going to be the higher priced specialty doubles, frills, dills, and yeah, that's just not what we are doing. And I think that's going to make us profitable a lot faster. All of that to say, on our steak and potatoes farm, we are growing bold colors. Our customers want bold colors. For whatever reason, in my sweet Oklahoma town, people do not care about whites. They don't care about pastels. I often, on our social media, as a way to get customer feedback and engagement, helps the algorithm, all of that. And I can learn from my customers. I'll often post about like, I'll do like a this or that. And I give them two options, and it'll be 2 different colors of ranunculus or 2 different colors of tulips. And I'm like, which one would you pick? And they respond. I get a lot of feedback. And my customers always pick the dark colors. They will always go with the brighter pink over the soft pink. They'll go with the bright yellow versus the soft butter, like almost every time. And so again, if this was Alex's flower farm, I would probably grow some doubles in pastel colors. I'm not Alex's flower farm. I grow for my customers that want to pay me for the flowers. So I'm growing big, giant, bold colors. So if you take all of the tulips I told you about, I put it together in a little collage here for you to see visually. It is bright, it is bold, it is not soft, it is not florist. I'm selling to retail customers. My customers like bright flowers on their table. So that's what I'm gonna grow. I can't in like an ego, like I can't focus, what does Alex wanna grow? What does Alex like? That's not a business mindset. That's a hobby farm that you're growing for yourself and your own enjoyment. That's not a business mindset. And so I am growing bold tulips. And if I want soft pastels, I know a farm in Tulsa where she grows mainly for florists. Her color palette is black and white different to mine. So I can go to her and buy my own self tulips if I want them for my table, but I'm growing for my customers, growing what they like, and I'm also making decisions on what I'm buying based on the price that's going to make me profitable, because it is so easy to make tulips a money loss if you are overspending on the fancy doubles. If you are gambling on things like doubles that tend to have shorter stems, you increase your risk of having like 4-inch stubs that you then have to stick in jars and try to salvage. And the bulb size is so much higher. And so you either price yourself out of what customers don't want to spend, or your margin is just so slim that are you really getting paid for all of the labor that it does take to grow tulips? Because we're going to plant these in November. I'm not going to harvest them until March. I still have to keep them alive all winter. I still have to pay for the compost to cover them. I still have to harvest them. I have to do all these things. And so I need to make it profitable. And it is so easy if you put your emotions and your decision making as what I would like in my own personal garden ahead of what makes me money. And that's what we want to do in order to be a year 5, 6, 7 flower farm and not burn out, because we've just been losing money on all of our choices for too many years and end up having to quit. So we will do a follow-up video in, like I said, November or December. I haven't quite decided when we'll have time or get our act together to plant them, but we'll do a video showing you how we plant them, what our style is, what we think ensures the longest stem length and is the best labor-saving choice, especially because we grow in clay. We'll show you all of what we do and bring you along visually, but that's what we are planning to grow in March and April. I actually looked at the calendar the other day and had a little mini freak out, but Easter is super early next year. Easter is like March 31st. I think last year it was in the teens. So now like a little bit of nervousness is I hope our tulips really start to get cranking at the end of March, because Easter is such a big flower sale time. And I'm hoping if we do our job right and the weather isn't absolutely crazy in wintertime, Easter might even be our opening weekend of just tulip mania, which I can't wait for.
What was that one that kept mispronouncing it? Started with a D.
Dordogne.
Dordogne.
Is that how you pronounce it?
How did you say it?
I say Dordogne, but it's French. I don't know French. I learned Spanish in school. Let me give you another option of how to say it. Dordogne?
Dordogne.
I mean, it's D-O-R-D-O-G-N-E. But there's no like hard G in French.
Like Doge. Like the Doge.
Like the Doge meme. We are growing Doge Darwin. The dog. The Doge.
I need to create like a picture of like a whole bunch of those dog faces. Like all of them.
Doge tulip, our #1 seller. No, but it puts an N next to it, so I feel like it's Donya. I'm gonna look this up now because I want to be accurate. Okay, well, it's a department of France, which in French that means like a county or it's a region. It's in Loire Valley in the Pyrenees. So pronunciation. Here we go. Oh my gosh, I'm nervous. Dordogne.
Dordogne.
Yeah, so that was like, I gave it as an option.
Okay.
Dordogne.
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 So Dordogne. That sounds actually way more romantically beautiful than Dordogne. Sounds German. Dordogne.
Dordogne.
Dordogne. Dordogne tulip.